Great. So next up, we have a really exciting session. We have Ambassador Sorin Ducaru, Director of the EU Satellite Centre, who's going to be talking to us about how is the SatCen leveraging research, technology and innovation to continuously improve provision of geospatial services. Let me hand over to Ambassador Ducaru now.
Thank you very much, it's indeed a pleasure and an honor to address this very important event and bring the experience, the perspective of SatCen experience into the discussion, into the debate. I have uploaded a brief presentation, which I hope can be seen by everyone, and with this let me just move on. Space is indeed a strategic issue more than ever these days, and it is indeed for the European Union as well. As the High Representative Josep Borrell mentioned at the Space Conference in Brussels last year, there is a good track record within the EU within European nations of acting together through the Copernicus, the Galileo programs, and through the European Union satellite centers activity. Just in a slide or in a couple of seconds, what SatCen is all about. It is an intergovernmental operational agency which core activity is indeed focused on geospatial intelligence, but it's also an operational crossover, because it not just provides security from space through GeoInt analysis, but also security for space or off space through the role of the space surveillance and tracking front desk, being the interface between the sensors from member states and the users, passing on the alerts for collision avoidance, re-entry analysis or fragmentation analysis. As I said, the core activity is focused on geospatial intelligence, and it's reflected also in this chart, but we are also very much involved in training, in capability development, very much linked with information technology employment, and everything in cooperation with other European bodies, with member states, or even with, of course, with the third parties. Speaking about the types of products, output, these are, I would say, let's say, non-sensitive versions of SatCen products, sanitized products, and they offer a kind of a glimpse of the output that can be provided from analysis linked to non-proliferation of weapons of mass destruction or means of delivery, in this case rockets, to support to the EU Border Management Agency, to Frontex, to support the EU missions and operations. But all in all, there is a really big, I would say, group of users, and the user demand has been showing quite a steep increase, especially in the last years, and frankly, especially even in the last year, in the pandemic year, where the lack of mobility on the ground and the inhibition of some activities on the ground have requested even more or have emphasized even more the value of sensors in space and the potential of analyzing the relevant information and offering operational information for the different users. When we speak about capability development, also development of IT tools and training, and I will come in more detail on these aspects. There are a lot of actions and engagements in programs, especially linked to Horizon Europe, but also transversally with other partners, with the focus of generating the kind of innovative solutions that would even more empower the analysts. So very much linked with the activity of SatCen. This goes from extracting the need from our operators, from our analysts, and also from our users, developing these innovative solutions in IT, focusing a lot on machine learning, artificial intelligence, but also on, I would say, using all other new technologies available in order to develop in-house product dedicated to the type of activity that we are performing. And of course, providing training regularly, not just for SatCen's own team, but also for that of member states or of our partners, of our users. This link between SatCen operators, SatCen analysts, and our users is absolutely key. As mentioned, everything is developed in close cooperation with key partners, and you can have here a bit of a presentation of the key ones. Yes, it is the Copernicus program of the European Union with the European Maritime Security Agency, Border Security Agency, Frontex, European Commission, of course, through the EU Space Program, with the EU's Horizon 2020 or Horizon Europe Research and Innovation Program, with the European Space Agency, a group of Earth observations, of course, with the European Defense Agency, which is also an intergovernmental agency and with whom we're cooperating very closely, and with the European Union Space Surveillance and Tracking Consortium. Now, focusing even more, going deeper into the, I would say, theme of this presentation, how to leverage research, technology development, and innovation at SatCen. It is absolutely clear that with the space and security domains both becoming more complex, with the evolution of more and development of more sensors in space, of mega constellations, and fast developing technologies, both in what I call in the two twin spaces, where there is indeed a gold rush of technological development, both the outer space and I would say digital space, cyberspace, if you want. Harnessing these trends is absolutely key. SatCen has indeed a dedicated unit in leveraging research, technology development, and innovation, focusing on implementing new operational solutions, and this by looking at the whole Earth observation and collected data lifecycle, and the aspects focus on cooperation potential, the aspects of secure satellite communications, everything that has to do with innovative technology, data acquisition systems, or applications in terms of Earth observations. Now, it's also important to know that research and innovation projects are made available to the SatCen operational teams to provide them with new solutions for their activities, and this becomes an in-house reality check due to the strong operational focus of SatCen. In terms of types of technologies that or domains that we are particularly focusing on, yes, we are looking forward for technologies explored within the Horizon 2020 projects framework, or other collaborative activities that are focused on the Earth observation domain or on transversal issues. And some examples I think are worth to have in mind. The big data domain, which is focusing on enabling the analysis of high value, larger and more complex, more heterogeneous data sets using innovative software and processing models. Then, of course, artificial intelligence implies the employing algorithm focusing on especially on explainable artificial intelligence, also for the increased trustworthiness, and a couple of very concrete applications I will describe in a couple of minutes in the future in a dedicated slide. Cloud computing, absolutely essential with a big volume of data and the need to build flexible system able to scale in a reliable but also in a cost-effective manner. The semantic technologies category, which is focusing on making information machine actionable, discoverable, and able to be repurposed and interlinked, therefore more valuable for different uses. The virtual research environments and platforms that are focusing on collaborative networks or collaborative frameworks, building and looking for synergies with other Earth science communities. Last but not least, I should mention the digital twin, Earth, which is focusing on integrating multiple data sources and models and ICT infrastructure to produce the more consistent, accurate, and useful information, therefore being able to respond to transversal challenges. Let's also focus a little bit on the engagement or the employment of research and innovation in this life cycle of activity from data to information. The part that has to do with harnessing data is focusing a lot on the assessment and usage of some of the Earth observation sensors that usually are not exploited in the security domain. One example is the Sentinel data, Sentinel 1, 2, 5. Also the study of new data acquisition systems from hubs, high altitude pseudo satellites to smaller satellites, and also the need to explore the nexus between climate and security. It's a theme that generates a lot of political interest and also practical interest, as well as the utility of analyzing collateral data, open source intelligence, developing mobility databases or events databases. So all this is extremely important to be able to manage the initial data in an efficient and useful manner. Also, the processing part, I think, is important to highlight here. The fact that we have focused on aspects like change detection, hotspot in the identification, when it comes to synthetic aperture radar, aspects like amplitude and coherence, and also everything then has to to be relevant in the output, so the information that is delivered to our users, and some of the key products that are worth to be considered here is our for example, infrastructure monitoring, aspects of illegal activity, damage assessment, effects of pandemic or disasters, and so on and so forth. In terms of services, a number are made available. So all these services are made available to all SatCen teams, so that they can benefit in the day-to-day activity from all the new developments and to the new technologies. And to make these services available, they are integrated in geospatial platform. We call it GeoDAMP, geospatial data management platform. And let's just highlight a couple of examples which are reflected in this slide. I will not go through all of them because it would be too much, but for example, in the upper left, it's an example of multi-temporal coherence over Beirut after the explosion last August, and their damage are visible in red and green, and this multi-temporal coherence is generated with two Sentinel-1 inputs and allows the analysts to look for the relevant changes. If I will take the next one, top center, it shows how monitoring vessel activity can be done in order to estimate the activity of a refinery. And of course, this also linked with the buoy for oil on loading or unloading. Other examples are monitoring fires, and that's upper right. Also down right, there is a change detection algorithm to monitor the activity around the Wuhan hospital. I won't go into all the details, but it shows the value of employing new technologies in to generate faster, better, and I would say interactive results over some areas that are of interest. Let me have also a minute on the GeoDAMP platform. Shows how the users and the application developers can really interact together by having access to this platform. It has a couple of key advantages of sharing the knowledge, accessing heterogeneous data, evaluating all the new innovative technologies, potentially developing a new algorithm, and of course sustain the research innovation outcomes and demonstrate the results, of course, deploying also services. The video presented shows the use of Sentinel-1 and Sentinel-2 imagery to analyze civil security issues, in this case construction of refugees camps in an area prone to flooding. But of course, many more applications for many different users or uses could be envisaged in such an interactive manner. Let me also give you a couple of examples of related to the use of artificial intelligence in support of our analysts. There are just three examples here. One is the use of algorithm feed it with information that is shown in this in the upper left picture. It shows the shape of an anti-aircraft defense system in North Korea. By the way, something that can be found also on Google Maps. And such, therefore, existing images could be scanned looking for this shape and then generate relevant flags. Why are they important? This kind of shapes to find locations of anti-aircraft defense systems, because usually they have something to defend, and when you find them, then you look around, and the analyst comes with his or her expertise and tries to understand what kind of infrastructure does it try to defend, and especially useful when we're looking to focus on non-proliferation aspects, or focus on the nuclear or the rocket development projects North Korea. Another interesting example on the upper right is the use of artificial intelligence to scan open seas and detect types of vessels. So the algorithm is fed with the types that we would be looking for, and then specific flags are coming up in specific locations, and the analyst can zoom in and really see what it is all about. This is some aspect related to illegal trafficking, is it a military activity, and so on and so forth. Last but not least, and this is the down rectangle, shows how open source intelligence, namely scanning of social media, can be associated with a geographic area. In this case, it's northeastern Black Sea, and a specific time. And the algorithm can be fed with shapes of different objects that we can look for. It could be ships, it could be other types of vessels, and then in the specific area, in the specific time frame, the kind of pictures that are related to the object looked for are popping up. They are indeed used, and I have just a few, as I said, sanitized examples of using both the fusion of satellite imageries with other open source images. In this case, is to support the operation Irini, which is meant to monitor the enforcement of arms embargo in Libya. Other examples is the support for the United Nations Stabilization Mission in Libya, which is focused on monitoring, developing a military infrastructure that could use equipment from illegal sources. Another example is monitoring, for example, the military activity. In this case, it was at the height of shelling between, in Nagorno-Karabakh, and it shows how the locations of the shelling can be determined and then used in order to both see battle damage and also the intensity of the fight and the activity, and then also linked with other more precise focus on specific infrastructure, which is of interest. I'm sorry. Okay, so that's one other example is the support for the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe monitoring the monitoring mission in Ukraine, support for Frontex and the migration, monitoring the migration in the neighborhood of Europe, Also support for Frontex use of synthetic aperture radar in order to really be able to monitor potential illegal trafficking. I should mention that what SatCen is convinced of, that is that the road ahead should be bringing together the key elements of what we call the virtuous triangle. It is indeed about a growing level of ambition in terms of security, defense, and space from the EU, from member states, but it's also the demonstrable growing user demand and the opportunity offered by technological development. And frankly, we would be looking forward to use this platform that I explained, which is now tested by our colleagues from Research and Innovation as a business model for the future, I would say, over the whole set of SatCen activity, not just unclassified, but also the more sensitive one. And of course, is moving from what was in the past, like we call the PDF type of geospatial intelligence products, to much more integrated and with higher information, higher quality, and interactive products. It will be, to use a metaphor, like moving from driving our cars with using paper maps to driving it by using a GPS. With this, I hope I really stuck into exactly the time frame that I was given. I hope that there will be better times in the future so that we could also see each other in person and also use conferences like this to interact, and hopefully also to offer the opportunity for those who are interested to visit SatCen. Interestingly enough, we did have visits even during the pandemic, some high-level visits of French or Spanish defense ministers, the head of the French Space Command, the High Representative of the European Union for foreign policy and defense policy, and also the commander of the IRINI operation, which is the European Union operation meant to enforce the UN resolution, the embargo, arms embargo in Libya. With this, I thank you very much, and as said, hope to be able to interact in a much more direct manner in the future.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Ducaru, for such an interesting and detailed presentation there. Just one question. What do you believe will be the greatest demand on the SAT Centre in the next 3 years?
I'm not sure if I understood. You asked what would be the greatest demand,
yes, the greatest demand on the SAT Centre in the next 3 years.
Well, it's very hard to say because we do have a very diverse demand. It will depend in the future on events, on specific missions, operations that the EU would, I would say, approve or would initiate. Last year, for example, Operation IRINI implied an important demand, not the biggest, but more compared to other operations of the past. I would say that our biggest users remain the European Union External Action Service, its missions and operations, and the member states. But I should also mention that we have increasing demand for partners. OEC was one example. The UN OPCW, Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, used to be big users during the Syria crisis, and when Syria joined the convention, and then we had a monitoring the activity of how the stockpiles were destroyed and precursors and so on and so forth. So I have to say it's very hard to me to point to one direction, because the whole point of SatCen is to be adaptable and responsive. So whatever there will be the need of our users, we will be ready to respond. What I can say is we through technology, through innovation, we hope to be able to increase our efficiency and the volume of our output and the quality of our output as well.
Great, thank you for such a comprehensive answer. And thank you once again, Ambassador Ducaru, for taking the time to join us.
Absolutely, it was my pleasure.
Thank you. Great, so next up, we have a video